YouTube, what is going on? What is going on? Derek Nielsen here, giving you the rundown for Bad Girls Club, Season 4, Episode 4. This is an episode that I will call Beatdowns and Letdowns. Reason being, beatdowns, obviously. Letdowns because I was about 36 minutes into this episode before I remembered that there was getting ready to be a fight. The reason it took me so long to remember is because so many good things were happening that I hated to see it come to an end. Now, before we begin to discuss episode 4, if we could please, let's just go back briefly to the end of episode 3, where you had Flo tearing the house up, you had the ladies in two separate factions in the house, and even inside of these factions, you actually had it to where these ladies weren't even fully getting along. Now, you take that to episode 4, everybody's getting along, so what in the fuck happened? How much time has transpired? And, more importantly, who put the pleasure bomb in Flo's panties in order to calm her down? She was pissed. Somebody gave her something good, and I want to see it. Regardless, let's jump on episode 4. And we start off with the ladies all sitting outside by the pool, as most Bad Girls Club episodes begin. Alright, awesome shit. But they're all out there by the pool doing their thing, and they're discussing men and money. You find out that Natalie grew up poor. This explains some of her behavior, but does not excuse it, if you will. You also find out that the more and more these ladies talk about their men, the more and more it becomes a pissing contest. I mean, you even had Portia sit there saying, things like when she goes to sleep at night, her man puts his arm around her, and when she wakes up, his arms are still there, so she's pretty happy. I'm happy for her. After that, you've got Natalie, who does not want to hear this particular conversation, so she decides to change the subject, and what does she do? She talks shit, she's leaning back, her chair breaks, she spills her drink all over herself, and Flo comes to lick it up. God bless you, Flo. You are keeping this show going. You're all right with me, mama. Now, from there, you've got the bad girls doing what they do best. These ladies are walking around on the beach, flirting with guys, having a good time. They even got their tarot cards read. They had their fortune told. You find out that Kendra is going to have 7 grandkids. You find out that Kate doesn't protect her heart. You find out that Portia's going to have 2 kids. And then they tell Natalie that Natalie is going to be rich and famous. I think to myself, we are all fucked. Regardless, the ladies move from outside to indoor to some little dive bar. So automatically, I'm thinking that Annie's going to be happy. She's in her element. This is true because they have margaritas the sizes of dinner plates. And, she's just going from table to table talking to different dudes. You find out why she's so outgoing. Annie is a home wrecker. That's right. You heard it. H-O-M-E wrecker. Now, before you crucify her, I say the same thing to you guys I say to everyone else that I've talked to about this show. Before you hate the home wrecker, you got to hate the contractor. Let's talk construction for just a moment. Bulldozers do not just go down the street knocking over houses at will, just at random. There has to be a contractor that sets everything up. So for every home that you have wrecked, and you have a home wrecker, you have the home wreckee who actually allowed it to happen. Regardless of all that, you go from that to Portia's conversation with her man. And I believe that I somewhat misspoke on an earlier episode. I think people may have gotten the impression that I actually was biased towards one person or the other. I haven't the slightest fucking idea what they discussed before Portia got on the show. I really don't fucking know. And to be honest with you, it's between them. Regardless, what he's saying to her now is that he wants her home basically stat. He's not trying to leave her in the blue or whatever. He wants to keep an honest, open line of communication. Portia is pissed about this. She goes outside to speak with her friends on this, and she's talking to Flo and Kendra. Rambling on, she's not really saying a whole lot. And I tell you, it was crazy when you hear Natalie show up. But before Natalie even shows up, maybe a little after, one of 2 people is Flo, who actually tells Portia to go home. She has 2 different people say it. If you didn't catch the second person, we'll discuss that here in a little bit. But I tell you, I almost fucking died when I heard Natalie's voice in the background on this particular part, only because I knew what was getting ready to happen. She was getting ready to crash the whole fucking scene. And sure enough, Natalie Nunn and her festive buns show up to crash the scene. Why were the buns festive? Well, she brought them out to play. I mean, whatever it was she was wearing, Oxygen would not let it be aired. It just did not fucking happen. Now, Natalie was actually chased off the scene by Flo and Kendra. Surprisingly, I did not know this shit was going to happen. You actually hear Flo say something along the lines of, if I'm having my moment, or if, I'm doing my thing here with this, leave me alone and do not interrupt me, let me do my thing. So Natalie storms off, and then she goes inside, and she's talking with Kate for a little bit. And again, these ladies were all just at each other's throats. When did they become friends? I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just wondering. Now, Kate's sitting here, and the scene is so crazy because I'd imagine that this one little titty of hers is so excited it just wants to hop right out the bra, because if you see it, it's hanging outside of it a little bit. I'm not complaining. I am just enjoying. Now, from there, you go to Portia, who is inside speaking with Flo and Kendra, I believe, again, about her man. And now she's saying that he's cheating on her. So it went from this morning, arms and holding and Rice Krispies and all that shit. Now, he's cheating because he goes four-wheeling for 8 hours at a time and goes fishing and does not like to take his phone on the boat. I know people who go fishing or four-wheeling, and they do all that shit over the span of a weekend. They will go, they will camp, and that is what they do. If he's only doing it for, little amounts of time, there are questions that need to be asked. Have you tried to go with him? If you've tried to go with him, does he tell you that you can't go? I mean, then, but again, let's not speculate. But Flo, all of a sudden, she knows, and he's cheating, so that's what that is. Now, we go from that to Natalie speaking with her man. And she says something while she's talking to him that a lot of us may not have caught, some of us may have. This is what she says to him. It scares me that I'm in love with someone sometimes that I feel does not have the hustler mentality. Sounds reasonable, right? Let's take that sometimes and put it somewhere else. Sometimes it scares me that I'm in love with someone that I feel does not have the hustler mentality. By taking that sometimes, you make it sound like sometimes she's scared. That's the way I put it. But the way she says it almost makes it sound like she's really not in love with the guy. We'll see. Regardless, after that, you go to Portia, who is on the phone with her daughter, and her daughter apparently does not speak on the phone. I'm not touching that situation with a 10-foot fucking pole. That's between her and her daughter. Portia is talking with Amber. This is the second time you hear someone say to Portia that she needs to go home. Dissect what Amber is saying, and she says something along the lines of, I think that you being here is a stressful situation and you don't need any more stress, which really means, translation, go home. Go back, be with your family, and do what the fuck it is you do. Portia's pissed, so she decides that they're all going to go out and party again. So they all go out and party. Nat knows this guy named JR, who is a skateboarder. The first couple of times I saw it, I really wasn't paying attention. At first I thought he was an MMA fighter, but he really didn't look that big. Then I thought he was a rapper, but whatever, he's a skateboarder, that's what they do. If you take a look at this scene, you notice that a lot of the women in the house pay a lot of attention to Natalie, more so than they should. Even back when they're at the house, you actually see Amber just like running down Natalie, just talking about her. It's like this. I haven't seen Amber bring any dudes to the house, let alone enough guys for all the other ladies. Speaking of which, other ladies, you've got Annie and Flo, who's up in the room with this other guy, and Annie's spinning around the stripper pole, and he decides to pull out a 5 and try and give it to her. She has the cutest look on her face, but I'm sorry, Annie, I'm not buying it. You knew what he meant. There's no way you take stripper pole classes and you don't know what the stripping game is about. That's just, it doesn't make sense. That's like learning how to play an Xbox but not understanding that it's a video game, Regardless of that, you got Natalie, who is running down game to this dude, and she is steady trying to get him for money. Even while Amber's downstairs talking shit. The funny part about this episode, this part of the episode, was when you see the guy leave, the JR and his entourage, Natalie says something like, okay, we'll see you next time and bring your American Express. He sees, here's what's going on, turns around, walks away. You've got this member of his entourage who's like making this face like, oh, I can't believe she said it, I can't believe she said it. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, come on, just turn around, get in the car, go home. You're not going to do shit, so just let's go home. Regardless, we are going to have a part 2. Let's see what's going on here.